Hey there, my name is Przemek and this is, well, not this time, not a review, maybe an essay. No, that sounds too serious and too professional. Let's just say a kind of nostalgic chit chat about the album, which was quite important to me during my history as an ambient and post-industrial fan. On our blog, Santa Sangra Magazine, WordPress.com, you have this section, Oral Time Slip, containing this kind of retro materials about old albums that had an impact on us. So this is a video version of that section, the first but possibly not the last video in such format. First album I'd like to talk about is Nordvargr Drakh Cold Void of Nothing, released in 2002. That was the time when I was under heavy influence of MZ412, especially the Nordic Battle Signs album released 3 years earlier. Their uncompromising vision of blasphemous black industrial was truly appealing to me, in 2001, MZ412 released Domine Rex Inferum. It was out, but I wasn't so fond of it back then. It was more dark, ritual oriented. And while I was a fan of that kind of music, I expected something different under that particular project. It took me years to appreciate Domine Rex Inferum, but what that album didn't provide me back then, Cold Void of Nothing did it with interest. I was MZ412 a huge fan back then, but as far as I remember, I didn't know any other Nordvargr or Drakh projects or side projects back then. Folkstorm, Troid, Beyond Sensory Experience. The time for all this music was still yet to come, for me at least. So when I saw the first Cold Void of Nothing announcements, I was more than curious. I thought, it's 6.6% of MZ412, so what can go wrong? The label responsible for Cold Void of Nothing was Polish Fluttering Dragon, which had a few years of glory at the turn of the century. They had a few cold meat refugees in their rooster, like Puissance or Iltfrost. They released quite a lot of interesting dark northern electronics, like Simply Dead or No Festival of Light. They also discovered Nordhound, one of my favorite dark deep ambient projects today. Back then, for a brief moment in time, I thought that if any label would deserve to be called a cold meat industry heir, it would be Fluttering Dragon. In the end, that never happened, but they left quite a few amazing albums. I still like to get back to and listen even today. Maybe one day I'll make some video about other cool albums from that Polish label. Cold Void of Nothing. This was the second album of the duo. The first one was called Northern Dark Supremacy, and it was out via LSD Organization in 2001. The aesthetic cover, as you can see, I liked it. No dark pictures of hell or monsters or whatever. No signposts of how you should interpret the music, or except for the titles, obviously. Just the names, Nordvargr, Drakh, the title, and the small symbol we all know, and the gray void of nothing. There are some chemical formulas and mathematic symbols inside here somewhere. Here are some chemical symbols and sorry, some math symbols here or there. Never mind, it's not that important, except for one thing. Yeah, math and chemistry is a horror. It was for me in school, so they got that right. Was the music something I expected? Well, yes and no. It had that northern black industrial aura, but also it was a bit less structurized than MZ412 albums. It had the dark ambient feeling, but in a different way. In a different way than, for example, in Dominarex Inferum or on later Nordvargr solo albums. It was based on analog synth treatments, sometimes also guitar harsh riffs, but it was devoid of any rhythmic parts and had kind of abstract feeling. This was this kind of evil you can't name or classify or something. And looking from that angle, all this made the music even more creepy. I remember the first time I listened to the third track, Serenadem Nocturnus, and those soulless and oppressive electronics. I thought, fuck, this may be the most evil song I have ever heard. Yeah, that was the time when I was thinking about the music in such categories. But when I think of it today, yes, it still has something deeply disturbing. There was also no vocals on this album, except for the last track, NDS Vol 2. NDS stands for Northern Dark Supremacy, I believe, with that atmospheric loop based on, I think, organ sound, a noise wall of sound, and black metal vocals. Truly evocative piece, and yeah, it was a perfect ending of this album, which really had a huge impact on me on the beginning of 21st century. Later they have recorded a few more albums together, I mean as Nordvargr Drakh, one of them with another musician, Cordell Clear. That album was out on All the Europa Cafe, I believe. Just a moment. I have an unexpected guest. Hi. Sorry. Where was I? None of those later albums, like for example Betrayal of Light, made such an impression on me. They were alright, obviously, but none of them then was as good as Cold Void of Nothing. Today you can download Cold Void of Nothing in a remastered form on Nordvargr Bandcamp as Name Your Price, with 0 as minimum, I believe. Although for what I saw, there's no that last track I mentioned, NDS Volume 2. Still, it is a piece of my personal musical history, and still a decent piece of industrial audio horror. Oh, and if you haven't subscribed the channel yet, please do it. It's also quite important to me, and I am deeply grateful for all the likes and subscriptions. Thanks again. Bye.